Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here with Simy Mathews, Chief Experience Officer at Kingdom International Movers. How are you doing today, Simy?
I'm good, Ben. Thanks for having me on the show. Look forward
Oh my
to
gosh.
having a chat.
Yes, I thank you for being here. And I said today, maybe I should say this evening, where in the world are you right now, Simy?
I'm in Dubai, in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and
Wow,
it is 12 a.m.
12 a.m. Well, thank you for staying up so late with us. This is so cool. This might be our first guest from Dubai here with us.
Wow.
I'm not sure. We have to go back and look at the records here, but this is exciting, Simi. I've never been to Dubai or the Middle East region at all. So I can't wait to kind of ask you some questions and kind of interrogate some of my own beliefs maybe and maybe uncover some of my own misperceptions even.
Yes.
So I'm really excited
Go
to kind of get educated about the region. So thank you
on,
for
Ben.
being here with us.
Thank you for
And okay, first one I got to ask. So I'm in Texas right now, which is a pretty hot area in the United States.
Okay.
Is it warm where you are? What's the temp like?
It,
What's the
it is warm, and we're actually beginning. I mean, the temperatures are beginning to cool down a little bit. I don't know what the temperature is today. I must actually check. But in our summers, we can go up to 50 degrees centigrade. I don't know what you'd say that in your Fahrenheit. But I think
Can we get a translation on 50 degrees centigrade? I want to know in Fahrenheit for the Americans over here. Let us know.
and today it's actually 31 degrees centigrade. So
All right. Yeah, I want to know. I want to know how warm that is because here at here in Texas it might get up to I mean probably in the mid 107, 108. Of course, sometimes you get maybe 114. In certain areas like Phoenix and things like that. So yeah, let us know. Hey, I want to also. Oh wow, Sandra Clary's coming in with the math here. This is great. Sandra saying 122 Fahrenheit. Wow.
you could
How do
boil an
you
egg.
deal? How do you deal with this? This is extreme heat. When I get over like 95, I'm like, all right, we got to talk about this. How do you how is life different based on the heat?
So here's the thing, Ben, and I've experienced European summers, which is also pretty hot, and I couldn't handle the European summers because in the Middle East we have a condition of, I mean, we have the luxury of air conditioners. So we pretty
Yes.
much live in the aircon the whole time. Whether that's we some of our bus stops, like where we catch a bus from, we have air conditioned bus stops even. Um, so we pretty much experience the heat from when we get out of our car parks and walk up to our car, or if we're going to take a metro, from the station to the your car park or wherever. So we pretty much live a life inside air conditioned malls, air conditioned homes, offices, stores, shops, wherever we go. There's aircon always. And when I went to when I went to Europe, and I was like, oh, it's so hot, and people would say, but you come from the Middle East, how is this? How do you feel this hot? Because in Europe, like, we'd have even restaurants wouldn't sometimes have aircon. They'd have these like these rotating fans that sprinkle droplets of water
Yes, the
down.
fans. They'd have the fans, and they'd all be attached with a pulley system. And it's like, okay, where's this 1800s air conditioning coming from? I need some real. See, same thing. So I grew up. I grew up in New York, in the northeastern part of the U.S. And people ask me the same question about Texas, about the heat. And I was like, yeah, but we have such good air conditioning. Whereas up in the Northeast, similar to Europe, although not, obviously Europe's much older, they have homes without central air conditioning,
Yes,
apartments without
yes,
central air conditioning, and and
absolutely.
that's where people get into some real trouble there. Let us know where in the world you are out there. If you're watching us right now, we got a bunch of people on LinkedIn right now and Facebook tuning in. Hit that like button right now. Let's get this party started. I want to know where in the world everyone else is. How hot is too hot? I want to know out there where you're at right now. We're going to talk about moving in the heat too. It's going to be something. Sandra, you're rocking it for 12 a.m. Simi.
Thank you, Sandra.
You do. You have excellent energy right now. That's awesome, Simi. Thank you again for making the time. This is great. We've got Eva checking in, watching my dearest from Belgrade, Serbia.
Hey, Eva. That's my friend from Serbia.
See, how cool is that? This is great. Fantastic. We got people checking in right now, giving us some math here. 33 Celsius equal 91 Fahrenheit. We got Jana Chesanovsky checking in. Happy to have you with us. Simi, hola from Mexico. Hola,
Hey,
Jana.
hola, Jana. Is it Jana or Jana? Because in Serbia, it's
It's
Jana.
yeah, right. So we say so she says Jana, I'm gonna try. So it's Jana is how we
Jana.
pronounce it. Jana.
Jana.
So
Okay.
it's like
Hi,
kind of in
Jana.
between. It's yeah, Jana. Awesome. Janet Turner or Janet
Janet.
Turner. Hello from Central Florida. There
How
you go.
hot
I gotta
does it
laugh
get
at
in
you.
Florida?
Janet, put that in how hot. Now, what's interesting about Florida, I lived in Florida for a while, but it's surrounded by water. So while it's far
Right.
south and it gets hot, it also gets extremely humid, but the
Humid, yeah.
water really moderates the heat. It can't get too hot because the water kind of keeps it cool.
I mean, we have a lot of water bodies around us as well, but the humidity here is, 80% in the summer, in the peak of summer.
It's 80% humidity, but
Yes.
I always thought you didn't get a lot of rainfall. So it's
We
pretty
didn't, but
humid.
it's very humid. It's very humid. And Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, like Riyadh, for example, there's like literally no humidity there. In the same country, Jeddah gets humid. So, it's really weird how all of these regions have different levels.
And that's a perfect illustration right there of how we can't really just like say a region or even a country is one thing. It's like this monolith. It's not, right? It's
Not.
not a cultural monolith. It's not a climate monolith, right? And I think that's a mistake that, frankly, I'm guilty of, and I think a lot of folks in the Western world are guilty of. Of course, I just did the same thing with the Western world. Jana says too hot is anywhere with more than 28 degrees Celsius without so we say Celsius over centigrade without AC. I'm really struggling today with the conversions. Thank you, Jana. Jana, how hot is that in Fahrenheit in American?
I think she's.
Dan Cross, look at my dad checking in. Dad, I love you, Dad.
Oh,
Give Dad a
wow.
shout out.
Okay.
Yeah, Dad's been a little under the weather lately, so send Dad some a heart and some support out there because we love you, Dad. Dad saying 84 in Tulsa. This man will be out in the yard picking weeds at 102 degrees. So
Oh,
don't let him
wow.
fool you here. Let's see. Farrell Elliott checking in from NorCal. We don't usually have humidity, but we hit 110 plus sometimes in the summer. Farrell, yeah, that's hot. Jamie Masler. Hi, Ben and Simi. Cheers from very sunny Mississippi. It gets warm down there
Hi,
too.
Jamie.
Shoma checking
That's
in.
my sister. Hi.
Hey, sister. Look at you. You got a whole fan club. This is fantastic.
I know she's up at 12 a.m. Not
This is
bad.
great. Janet's asking my dad about the wedding. My sister got married last weekend.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So we got to do that. And then you
Honeymoon.
got look, go Simi,
That's the husband.
the husband. Hello, the husband. It's good to see you. Very good, very good. So then I have to ask. So I was in the moving business for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
running a moving company
Mm-hmm.
with that kind of climate. I mean, what is that like?
Honestly, like I cannot give enough thanks to the crew that make it happen. It is unbelievable. Like our guys, they go through 5 t-shirts, sometimes even more, because like I said, the humidity is just unbelievable and it's just amazing. Like there's not enough words to say thank you to the crew that work in the Middle Eastern summers. It's amazing. And we do have a rule here, though, especially in the UAE, that between 12 and 3, they're not allowed to work outside. So we cannot load or unload for 3 months in a year in the peak of the summer. So that's a relief for them. But sometimes they're still inside homes, and some people have to disconnect their electricity And and just imagine they have to then work without AC. Even if they're not in the sun, they're still in a really hot apartment or villa, and that's really, really, like, I mean, I have so much respect for our crew. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
shout out to all the movers out there who do
Absolutely.
the hard work and get these transferees moved and assignees moved. They don't get enough respect or acknowledgement. I appreciate you saying that, Simy. Jack Jampel, hello, Simy and Ben from Philly.
Hi, Jack.
Look
Thanks
at
for
Jack
joining
checking
in.
in. Look at this. Now, this is what Jack loves to hear. Jack has been on a campaign for the last couple of months, right? Talking about experience, and it needs to be more about experience. And here he's found Simy, who is a chief experience officer. He's like, that's what I'm talking about. I applaud your company for having a position titled chief experience officer. Simy, this is your opportunity to toot your horn. Why is your title chief experience officer?
Okay, so you want the real answer, or you
I
want the
want
fake?
no, I want the fake answer. Give me the lie to me first, and then tell me the truth later. Just
Okay,
kidding.
no,
No, yeah, go with the real answer. Go with the
the
real answer.
lie, actually.
Go with the real.
So here's the thing. The first thing is, I actually heard this title from my boss, one of my previous bosses. His title was CXO, Chief Experience Officer, and I thought it was so cool. And then when the opportunity presented itself, I said, I'm going to be the Chief Experience Officer. I'd like that. But also because, I am all about the experience. Like, I've always been in customer services and operations, and I've always believed that, your customers' experience with you as a company or a service provider is what makes them come back to you. You can
Yeah.
have the best product in the world, and you can have the best marketing strategies, but if they don't experience all that you promised them, then they're not going to come back. So I'm about providing the experience, and that's what I try to train and teach my team. And as a company, we want to focus on the customer's experience with us, because many times, we think that moving is about the belongings, about the beds and the chairs and the cupboards, but actually it's the people. We don't realize that they are going through the most difficult period of their life, moving. It's so stressful, right up there with death and divorce and all of that. And then when we don't put the people at the center of it, then that experience becomes just about the objects, right?
You bring
So
up a great point, right? We reduce moving to logistics, files, paperwork, and we
absolutely.
sometimes forget the human experience. But when you keep talking about experience, how do you define that? What is that? What does that mean to you? Experience.
It's how you feel. It's how you are made to feel. Like if like, I mean, I'll just tell you, when I first started in the industry, I didn't understand why people placed so much importance on like an object. Like, I'd say, oh, well, it's just a table, or, well, it's just a vase. Why is that so important? But when I moved, I've since then moved 4 or 5 times in my life, and then I realized, oh my,
Totally different, right? Totally
totally,
different.
it does mean a lot. Like my wedding dress, or my child's christening albums. It meant a lot. It might not mean something to someone else, but it means to me. And so, how does a person feel after we've looked after something? They've built, spent all their life putting together a home, and then, you don't just treat it as an object. You think of it with their like your emotions, and you take care of their emotions as well as moving their belongings.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I want to stay here for a moment because I think there's a huge learning opportunity for all of us here. Daisy Cuddy Abraham checking in here on Facebook with the thumbs up. Awesome. Hosea Botley, hello from Seattle with Universal Global Relocations. Great international mover there based in the US. That's awesome. Let's see here. Jack says, exactly. It's how you make others feel.
Oh,
So,
thank
Simy,
you.
I'm going to put you on the spot here because we all are in the experience business. right? We
Yes.
say we're all in the people business. Well, then we could also say we're all in the making other people feel good business, right? So how do you achieve that next level experience?
I think it's communicating, and I think it's communicating throughout the move process. Not just until the sale is done. So I think at every touch point, the customer needs to feel like someone cares. Whether it's your salespeople or whether it's your customer service people, your move coordinators, your crew, your delivery guys, whoever your customer comes into contact with your company, there must be people that want to make the customer feel special. Not like, oh, you're just another customer. We're going to move you from A to B, and that's it, job done. So I think it's
Yeah.
important that the customer feels the love and the care and the concern at every step of the move.
So I'm going to ask you another question. I agree with everything you're saying, but it's easier said than done, right? Because we
True.
can say that. We can sit up here at a C level in a company, but then there's people out there in 122-degree Dubai summer, with their fifth T-shirt on for the day, right? How do we get those people to care and keep this in their mind when they're so physically exhausted? It's the eighth move they've done in a 7-day week, or something like that. I mean, these people work hard. How do we hire for that? How do we train for that? How do we coach for that?
It's really hard, Ben, because like I said, I mean, I've worked in organizations where we've had like a lot of crew, a lot of staff, and I've also worked with people, I mean, in organizations where we haven't had that many staff. But I think it's necessary to cascade, like how you make your customers feel. You need to treat your own people in the same way. Like they need to experience that from the top most part of the company. So from the owner, from the CXO, like, I'll pass by at move jobs whenever I can. And in the summer, I like to take them drinks. I like to take them fruit. I like to take them ice cream sometimes. It's not always possible, but, sometimes the sales guys will do it. And, we just tell people that check in on the crew, make sure they're okay. Obviously in the peak season, it's so hard to get that done, but when we do that in the off peak season, they know that we look after them and we'll take care of them.
I
So I
love
think
that.
it's
I really love that. I love how you take ownership of that from a senior level, right? Because I think a lot of times what I'll hear is, they need to do, they need to do, they need to do. And I think great leaders really say, well, I need to do this. If I do this, they will do that also, right? If I show up with ice cream, they're going to be happy and treat people well, right?
yeah,
But it
yeah.
starts with people at the top. So that's really cool. Richard
And
Majewski
I
checking
think,
in. Oh, go ahead.
sorry. No,
No, go ahead,
sorry.
Simi. Go ahead.
I just think that it's necessary to walk the talk, and I think that management do need to roll up their sleeves and do things. I think actions speak louder than words. So it's not. I mean, there's no point me sitting and giving speeches and talking on social media if I'm not going to do it. But my team know that I'm there for them and that I will pass by with ice creams or whatever it might be. And like I said, they need to feel. You have to be genuine. If you're fake and if you're not honest and if you're not genuine, people will see through. And I think if you're genuine, they will know that you really do care.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. I'd love to hear it. We got a bunch of people checking in here. The comments are getting really fun. We've got some questions coming in. I want to hear from you out there. How do you create that winning customer experience? Any tips and tricks, anything that you've done out there that works? This is an opportunity to toot your horn. Let's kind of come together and crowdsource some of these ideas here in the comments. I'm going to be checking up on everybody out there. We're going to answer all your questions and read all your comments today. That's my commitment to you. Richard checking in from London, just broken off from Breaking Bad to be here. I hope it lives up to the standard there, Richard. Thanks for being here, buddy. It's always a pleasure. Hosea Botley. Okay, we got a question there from Hosea. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Jack saying it's a concentrated effort and thought process. It does not just happen naturally often. For sure.
True.
It takes work. It takes work. But to Simi's
Absolutely.
point, how do we inspire that work ethic in them? I think that consistency starts at Simy's level, right, too. Because if we're consistent, they're consistent. If we're inconsistent, I think they're inconsistent as well, too. So this is great. This is really great. Janet saying Simy, she likes communication is key.
Thank you, Janet.
This is great. Gerard here.
Oh,
Hey,
hi,
Simy.
Gerard, my ex-colleague.
Amazing to see you here. Passionate towards customer experience as ever. You're amazing and wishing you well as always.
Thank you, Gerard. Thank you. It means a lot you showed up here. Thank you.
This is cool. Look at that. We got people checking in from all sorts of countries here. Rio de Janeiro in Brazil is in the house. Josiani, look at this. This is great. Thanks for being here with us. We got a couple questions here. You want to answer a couple questions?
Yeah, sure. Let's do questions.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. First question here. I'll go back to our buddy Hosea. Love Hosea. Hosea says, hello, Simy. With all the logistics issues worldwide, please advise the issues you're experiencing in the Middle East, i.e., port delays, container, chassis storage, etc. What are you seeing over there? We're seeing a lot of stuff happening over here. Are you seeing container shortages?
Yes,
Other shortages?
I cannot even begin to explain what we're going through. I mean,
Well,
Dubai.
we have time, so you just take your time and let's see how much we can get through.
Dubai is still better. We're still having the ability to source containers and everything, but Saudi Arabia at the moment is just a nightmare. I've got 2 shipments sitting in our warehouse since July. I need a 40-foot container to Miami from Jeddah. Can someone get me one? Like, honestly, I mean, I cannot even begin to explain what my customers are going through, but it's just, I just cannot. Shipping lines are not even taking household goods anymore. They don't want household goods.
What did they say? What did they say? They said no. What rationale are they offering?
We're not being given any explanations. We just get a cancellation, and I think that it may be because they make more money from commercial cargo than from personal effects, probably.
Wow, because here we are seeing these massive port delays, container shortages, and then I open up the paper, which I'm sorry, I don't open up the paper. I lied. I don't open up the paper. I go on my phone and I'm reading articles. Yes, no, I don't open the paper. I haven't opened the paper. Anyway, but I'm seeing record earnings from the Hapag-Lloyds and the Maersks and all the major shipping lines, record earnings, and they're delivering slower than ever.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make sense to me.
You wouldn't even believe what a 40-foot container costs at the moment. It's just.
Do you want to give us an idea, like a comparison, like just an example maybe of what it might have cost 2 years ago and what it costs now?
I'm not sure I can't remember what it cost 2 years ago, but as of yesterday, I got a quotation for a 40-foot container from Jeddah to Miami for $13,000.
What would you expect that price to be?
8,000, 7,000 to 8,000.
Wow.
Max tops.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 60% increase, maybe 75% increase.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, imagine these are some of these customers who, some customers have lost their jobs due to the pandemic. They've been laid off, made redundant, want to move their belongings back home. How do we expect them to pay this kind of price? I mean, they can't just sell off everything. They can't just get rid of all their belongings. What do?
That's a great question. I want to ask everybody out there, what are you seeing? What are you hearing right now from a shipping shortages? We've got Janet who's out there. We got Hosea who's very in this. We got Jack from a client perspective. We got folks from Brazil and England and all over. What are you seeing out there right now? I want to compare Simy's experience. Is it the same? Is it different? What are you seeing out there? Please leave it in the comments here. I think this is a great place for us to kind of come together and compare notes. And what recourse do we have? I mean, is there any recourse? Is there anything that we can do? Any tips or tricks that you've seen in getting stuff moved? I mean, is it the matter of going to a different port, Simy, and doing the over-the-road trucking to maybe a different port with more access?
Look, it's, I mean, that's exactly what we've done now. So my forwarder has said to me that, Miami's closed. He's not able to get anything to Miami, but he might be able to get something to New York or Charleston or Savannah. So I've now written to my partner in the US saying, look, if I shipped it to one of these ports, what would you charge to truck it to Miami? Because my customer is moving to Florida. That's their home, So it's just looking at all these options, but it's just, I don't know. Yeah.
Should talk to Tim Quirk over here. He works production on the show here, and he trucks stuff. He does a lot of this drayage and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an opportunity also for new providers who have innovative solutions right now, because people are just desperate right now. Clients, transferees, obviously the movers, the forwarders. I mean, we're all just looking for new solutions here.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. Let's see here.
I mean, it's like I said, it's just it's sad because this isn't normal times. Like this is the like we've never experienced such a time in our lifetime before, like such a pandemic and all of that, and in between all of this, like people have lost their jobs, and our region is made up of expats, people who don't live here, who come here to work and make a living, and then when they've lost their jobs, for them to have to move back to their home countries and pay all of this container prices, to just ship their belongings, it's really heartbreaking. Sometimes I have nothing. What do I tell customers? Why the prices are so high?
Well, I will say this. I was having a conversation with the president of a relocation company today, and we were talking about the port delays. And the one thing I can say is at least we can point to the headlines and say, hey, this is an international problem.
Yeah.
It's not a lack of coordination. It's not a lack of an inability to manage my supply chain. It's not poor planning. It's not price gouging on my part. It's, hey, look here, everybody's having this problem. You can read about it. There's no shortage of documentation to substantiate the issue. Whereas other issues we've had, I think in the past, maybe for instance, like maybe a driver shortage in household goods drivers here in the United States or other places. Certain things like that might have been a little more niche and a little harder to prove or maybe give examples to our clients. I think at least it's an international issue, and I think people might be a little more understanding. But I guess I'll ask, everyone who's watching, I mean, are your clients, are your assignees, are they being patient? Are they being understanding when you're seeing 75% increases on the container shipping prices? Simy, are you able to even pass those costs along? Simy.
I mean, we have to, right? And this is what I was coming to say also, that this just means our margins, it's eating into our margins, because in order to book the jobs, in order to help the customer, we are having to work on very, very low margins. So it's just not healthy for us, because we do have to provide a premium service. We still have to pay our crew. We still, pay our rents and our trucks and warehouses and insurance and all of that. But we're just making less money to be able to service. And, it's just such a difficult situation. Yes, the customers are understanding. And like you rightly said, it's out there in the news. They do understand. But, ultimately, they've got to take it out on somebody. And they just think that we should probably do it at cost, which is not possible.
Yeah,
but
it's
hey,
not possible.
There are some jobs we're having to do at cost, to help the customer.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think there's no shortage of people who are sympathetic, right? Because we're all in the same boat, pardon the pun, here. So there's a lot of love out there for you. Jose is saying, I feel your pain. Jose says Asian is even worse.
Yeah, I think the Asia ports are really congested. I think it took a couple of months.
What's the worst port in the world? Worst port in the world. Hosea, everybody, what's the worst port in the world in your opinion? Throw it in the comments. Simy, worst port in the world. Don't worry, I won't tell them.
The worst I've experienced is the South American ports. Brazil, I think, would be out there right at the top.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brazil, Argentina, Colombia. Those are some
We
of the
need to
most.
ask Jana to go straighten that port out down there because she lives in Rio. So you need to go out down there and straighten that out, Jana. Janet's saying I've received the same type of rates you're describing, Simy, from the Far East as well.
Yeah.
Those same types of rate increases.
Yeah.
Jack Champel is on the corporate side, is a corporate client of relocation. Jack saying company's volume is significantly lower for international moves because of this, as well as COVID. Jack, I think what you're saying is because, Jack, are you saying because of the cost increases, or are you saying because of the shipping delays? Which factor, after COVID, obviously, which factor is constraining volume the most, Jack? I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Simy, do you have an opinion on that? Is it the time to ship? Is it the cost to ship?
Yeah, I think probably what Jack is saying is that, like, if there are companies that are giving allowances, so earlier when they had bigger allowances or container allowances, etc., because of all these, they're probably, giving them lesser allowances or probably not moving them around as much. Maybe they're delaying their moves and, hoping that the rates will drop a little bit. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I spoke to a forwarder a couple of days ago. I was looking to consolidate a shipment to the UK, and he said, "Look, I've got stuff in the warehouse." He said, "But I'm going to hold it for a month because I'm thinking after the busy season, the freight rates might drop just a little bit. So then I'll load it. So if you want to bring it out to me by November, maybe we can consolidate it." So, I think people are waiting to see if this is going to change and then maybe move. I think maybe that's what Jack means.
Yeah, Jack, is that, I think it says yes, cost and shipping delays. Really fascinating. When you talk about something, people are waiting to see if costs come down.
Mm,
I think people are doing that in the housing market too, because we've seen housing prices go up tremendously.
yeah.
Cost of everything is going up, and people are
Yes.
waiting. And what's
Yes.
interesting to me is I wonder if it will ever come back down, or if this is to some degree the new normal.
I had the
Because
same
when it
conversation today with another
did you?
colleague of mine. Yeah, because we said the same thing about these ridiculous container prices. And we said, will it ever come back to what it used to be 2 years ago? And we don't think it's going to.
Wow.
And I
Well,
mean,
and especially when you,
cost of living has gone up. I mean, like you rightly said, like, especially in the Middle East, where we don't have, as you know, this is a desert, and we don't grow a lot of our own food here, and so much of it comes in from overseas. And so when we do our grocery shopping, we've seen that the prices have risen. um, as opposed to, in the US or Europe, you could go to a farmer's market and it probably wouldn't change so much, as opposed to us here, where we have to bring in a lot of our fruits and vegetables from overseas. Um, so the cost of freight and the cost of container shipping is going to affect everything and everybody. Ultimately, it's not just going to be people that move; it's going to be the cost of living is just going to go up.
well, it's everything, right? Because and I remember when I worked in the freight industry directly, I had this epiphany one day that every single thing I look around at came here on a truck and or container.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even down to the trees in my yard were brought here on the truck. They're not indigenous to my yard. Somebody cleared this land, and then they brought a bunch of trees on the truck, and they planted one here and one here and one here, right? And the sod too came on a truck. So it's like, it's very interesting that every single thing comes, via a truck or a container or both, and there's just more and more people are buying things. I mean, there's huge portions of the world that are just becoming consumers on the scale that we've seen, in the Western world and the more developed nations. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. I think this might be the new normal. This very smart, handsome gentleman says Brazil.
He knows why Brazil was so difficult for me on 2
Yeah,
shipments.
yeah.
He's
He's
seen my
probably
face.
heard you yelling about Brazil in the house. Yeah. Janet Turner says Brazil. Yes. Hosea says South America. Very interesting that everybody is on the Brazil train here.
Yeah.
This is great. And Jana says, fact, our bureaucracy goes beyond words, unfortunately. Hosea does have an honorable mention, saying that there's many delays at the Port of New York as
Yeah,
well.
of course. Yeah.
Richard is in the corporate housing, and he is in the UK. And what's interesting about the show, I love the show because the community's all over the world. And we're all kind of in different areas, right? So you got Jack, who's over here as corporate client, US based. And we've got, Hosea and Janet, who are kind of in this international forwarder space. And you've got shippers, and you've got, bookers and forwarders, and you've got agents who are doing the work, and everybody's kind of trying. And then you got people who are in corporate housing or immigration or whatever. And yet we're all kind of having some of the same issues, right?
Yes.
Richard, and we're seeing the interdependency of it. Richard's saying we have someone in-house in a rental that we run. They're relocating from Chicago. So they're over in the UK. They're relocating from Chicago. They keep extending their rental. He's already bought a house, presumably in the UK, but he's still waiting for his furniture to be shipped. So now he's stuck in this corporate housing situation, this furnished apartment, serviced apartment situation. And he's already bought a house over here. So he's occupying 2 residences right now.
Yes.
Waiting for his household goods to be shipped, which, by the way, are in probably another residence in the U.S. So he's occupying 3 homes.
In Chicago, probably. He's paying storage in Chicago.
Yeah. So he's either occupying 2 residences or 3 residences or 2 residences and paying storage. So also now that's also that's also leading to the shortage of housing.
Yeah.
One family occupying 2 to 3 residences, right? And so, so this is really interesting how when one thing slows down, everything kind of bunches up. It's like traffic, It's really interesting. Thank you, Richard, for sharing that. Any other comments? We would love to hear them here. Let's see here. Richard has a question. Will location options offered to transferees be affected by what's going on with shipping?
I don't think so, because if there is a need for a transferee to be in a particular location, I think that person or that person's expertise, or if they're a subject matter expert, if they need to be in that location, then they need to be there. I think the companies will just work around the shipping.
Yeah, I think Richard, you're onto something, but I think it would be a little different than what you're saying. I think the transportation options offered to transferees might be affected by the location. So, for instance, if you're going to Brazil, and we know that it is horrendous to ship over there, it is very costly, it takes a lot of time. We might just say, we're not shipping your household goods. You're going to stay in temp housing for 12 months instead of 1 month and find a place. We're just going to put you in furnished apartment, for the whole time.
I agree, Ben. I think that might be the solution offered. Yeah.
Yeah, which is unfortunate for us in the household goods industry.
Yes. Yes.
Let's see what Jack has to say here. If costs do not come down, in my opinion, companies will become much more selective on who goes on assignment. Interesting. Jack, this has been a problem for a long time, right? Escalating costs in relocation, and we've seen relocation volumes, I would say, go down. Jack, tell me if I'm wrong. Are relocation volumes going down? What do you think, Simy? You have? Can you give us like a comparison, kind of give us a feel for what's happened historically with volumes?
So, I started in the business almost 17 years ago. And, those back in the days, allowances used to be 20-foot containers, 40-foot containers. Even with middle management, they used to get like a 20-foot container allowance. And then now it's come down to, probably the super senior management, the top level management might get a 20-foot allowance. And now it's, it's like 1,000 kgs, 500 kgs, many of them just moving to furnished accommodations. And, so that's definitely changed. The allowances have definitely changed, or they just give them, what they call lump sum, just give them some money and say, here's an allowance and you choose what you want to do. So you ship your goods or you leave them behind, you move into a furnished accommodation. I think, that's the way it has gone over the years.
Yeah, I would agree. As some, so I have clients in the household goods space. I have clients in the furnished accommodation space, temp housing space, and I think that we're going to see less people shipping household goods, sofas, beds, cupboards. To your point, kitchen, a full dinette set, and they're going to rent furnished. I think renting furnished is going to be a big a big
Yes.
opportunity. Now I'm going to ask you, and we've got Marilee, I see you got some great comments coming up here. Keep leaving these comments. I want to know if you agree with what I'm saying, what Simy's saying. Simy, I'm going to ask you this. If that happens, what do moving companies do to adapt and continue to create amazing customer experiences and stay relevant?
Look, I think, Ben, irrespective of what a customer's allowance is, I think the experience should not change. I mean, whether they've got 500 kgs or whether they've got a 20-foot container, the experience must still stay the same. And, those belongings, whether it's 500 kilos or a full container, it's still important to them. It's precious to them. They're moving only what's important to them. So I think it's necessary to make sure that every customer has a great experience, irrespective of their allowance, irrespective of what they're moving.
You could argue, I mean, pound, kilo for kilo, that shipment's even more precious to them, right? Because
Yes,
it's the
absolutely.
most
Because
precious.
they're only taking what's absolutely valuable to them and what's so important to them. True.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Do you think that there's additional services? I mean, since you're an experienced person, I'm going to stay here just for a moment and kind of geek out on household goods future and theory here with you
I
for a
like the
moment. I hope
word.
you don't. Yeah, just geek out on household goods theory. Um, so, do you think that the services we offer change? Do you think that when somebody starts shipping the small shipment, the air shipment, do you think that we start to broaden the services? Because I'll speak from a U.S. standpoint. The
Mm-hmm.
U.S. moving industry, from a service standpoint, has been going downhill for a long time. What U.S. domestic movers are willing to do for their clients has been lessening and more specializing. And then say, well, we don't tell, that's glass, that's super fragile. Oh, we need to crate that. Oh, TVs, you need those hung? We need to call a technician for that. Oh, car, we used to put that in the van. Now we have car carriers for that, right? There's all these things that the movers don't do anymore. Now, I think that the U.S. has gone way further in that direction than anywhere else. I mean, third-party services is not really an industry, I'm told, outside of the United States that's siphoned off and specialized and given to a third party. But do you see a broadening of services or different services being added to the menu?
I mean, I think in the Middle East we're pretty much consistent, and we've stayed true to how the moving industry has always worked. And I don't think that many of my counterparts or my colleagues or competition has changed in what they offer. So if something is fragile and needs to be created, we'll tell them upfront. I think, in fact, now, or at least as a company, what I tend to do, or what I tend to tell my staff, is that just make people aware of everything. Like, transparency is key. So whatever services are now charged, we need to be upfront. And I think gone are the days when we could hide behind the fine print. And because I think, again, the experience now is different. People have more avenues to express their dissatisfaction, etc. We've got to be even more careful on what on what is hiding behind the fine print. Now we can no longer just say, oh, it was in our terms and conditions, and then it was attached to the quotation. You cannot. If you're not going to provide a service, or if it's not part of the door-to-door price, then it's important to highlight that on the main quote, where the customer can see it and where they were made aware of it. And that overall contributes to the experience.
So let me, yeah, and I agree with everything you're saying too. I mean, it's very interesting that when I hear more seasoned people talk, they'll talk about how back in the day, your reputation was everything, your word was your bond, and all these things, right? And then of course I laugh and I'm like, but what's funny is it all comes in cycles.
Yes.
Right. So then we went through a period where there was some anonymity and you could kind of not give people great service, and then whatever, doesn't matter, they go back down the road and it doesn't really matter. You pulled one over on them. But now we live in a environment now where it's almost like that small town atmosphere again, where everybody knows everybody, and they can look you up real quick, and they can check your references really quick with a 30-second Google search, and you can't live down a bad reputation, and your reputation really does stick with you. And so integrity becomes almost like a newfound importance now, that even though you were right via the terms and conditions and what was in the contract, you still have to make it right, because it doesn't matter if you were right on paper. It matters what the perception is and how you made that person feel to your experience thing before.
And also, Ben, I think to your question, I think when earlier things like handyman services was not, like, I don't know, I'm looking for the word, not like a separate service. We sort of built that in to the pricing. So like, if they had a new cabinet or a new bed or a new children's bed or something, we'd just get our crew to assemble it for them, and we wouldn't think anything about it. But I think those are the little things that now we've had to take out and say, assembling new items of furniture is part of handyman services and is not included in our price. Earlier,
now let me ask you, do you charge extra, but do you still do it in-house with your people, or do you find a separate technician or whatever
in
that does it?
in the Middle East, we tend to do it with our own people, because most of the companies have our own crew, and we have in-house carpenters and electricians, and our crew we have longevity with our staff in the Middle East. Most companies do, like, because like I said, this is an expat environment. People come here to work, and they pretty much work for moving companies all their lives as crew. So they learn a lot of things, and they have experience over the years. So therefore, it's okay, and we can still do it in-house.
Yeah, and that's what I suspected, and that's what I think is really true in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, is that people are doing this stuff in-house, whereas here in the US, we actually outsource it, to another company. We have there's someone checking in saying, good to see you there on Facebook. That's very nice, very nice. Let's see here. We've got a couple questions. Mary Lee's always got the most amazing comments here. Let's see what Mary Lee's up to. With inflex policy, may need to help with the guidance of the cash furniture allowance over the C shipments, and maybe even evaluate the cash amounts during the container import issues. Look at cash alternative towards purchase and small air shipment, for example. Creative pivots in flex policy may need to be considered related to household goods current shipment issues. Sounds like she's talking about cash alternatives. That's the big word that I kind of pulled out of this.
Yeah,
and that's to your point. Is like lump sum.
I think it's already. Many companies are already doing that, Merrily. I think instead of doing the shipping directly or managing the shipping in-house and the moving in-house, I think they're just giving cash allowances to assignees and transferees and saying, do whatever you want with it. This is your allowance, and do what you wish with it.
What scares me about that is it's a shift from a benefit, relocation as a benefit, as an employee benefit, saying, we understand you have a need, and we are going to address that need for you and your family because we've caused that need. We're sending you somewhere. We're going to give you something to address that need. And it's moving from a benefit to compensation. And now it's a number. And numbers can be negotiated. Needs are served with experiences, and compensation compensation is meant to be negotiated. It will always be negotiated forever and ever. And as soon as you put a number on it, it's my job as the employer to get that number as low as possible. It's your job as the employee to get that number as high as possible, and we'll see where it lands, right? And then when you get to that number, because you're thinking of it as a number, and of course, when you think of it as a number, you're thinking of it, okay, how what's going to feel like in my pocket. Then you find out that number does not equate to the need and does not service the need. I just got to think that there is going to be a groundswell of dissatisfied expats out there who are going to be very reluctant to take assignments in the future because of how the first one ended up. We talk about death, divorce, and moving, right? Well,
Hmm.
moving can cause death and divorce, I think. Yeah, we had somebody on not too long ago, just this week actually. She was on and she was talking about the divorce rate. Diana Melbourne from IOR Global Services was just talking about the divorce rate with assignments.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's something you definitely don't want to go through more than once. So I
And
think
when
I worry.
Sorry, just to say that exactly what you said, that when the compensation becomes about the number or the amount, what then happens is that is directly related to your customer experience, because the assignee or the transferee then goes and chooses the cheapest provider, and then they have a lousy experience, and then they probably don't want to move and don't want to go through that experience again.
That's right. That's right. And then ultimately, the corporation is hurt because the
Yes.
corporation needs that talent to move,
Yeah.
throughout the organization. Because one year it might be Dubai, and the next year it might be Shanghai, and then the next year it might be New York. And I mean, they need them to go and be places, right? So I just hope that the corporation is taking a long view on this. Switching gears a little bit, talking about some fun stuff here. Richard said, "Is there a list of popular places to which to relocate? Dubai must be popular. Is that changing at all?"
No, I think we're seeing a lot of people moving into the Middle East, especially to Dubai and to Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure if any of you know, but Saudi Arabia has a Vision 2030 where, it's a strategic plan where they're planning to open up the country. There's a lot of development going on there. And, they're going to rely less on oil and, open up the country to tourism. And so they're bringing in a lot of experts from around the world, and so we're seeing traction in Saudi Arabia. Engineers, doctors, consultants, architects, all of these people contributing to growing that country. There's beautiful buildings coming up. They're building all sorts of beautiful structures and opening up the country like almost like another Dubai. And Dubai, of course, is always growing, always developing. There's always something happening in Dubai, and it's a great place to move to. So I think the Middle East will always be popular, and again, the tax-free factor is definitely something that attracts people to move here.
Then that's some great points. And you mentioned a couple locales there. Tell people a little bit about Kingdom International Movers and where your locations are.
Okay, so Kingdom International Movers was established in Saudi Arabia in 2013, sorry. And their head office is in Riyadh. They have three offices all over Saudi. And in January this year, they opened a office in Dubai because there's a lot of movement between Dubai and Saudi in terms of our corporate accounts. There's talent movement between the two places. So, in order to facilitate our clients' requirements, their clients had been speaking to them and saying, can you open an office in Dubai because we'd like to work with you from a corporate level as well. So they opened an office in Dubai, and so this is where we are. And
That's
we
awesome.
partner with we have a mobility partner. So we have a partner here in Dubai who can also do work for mobility work in Saudi, which is a difficult place to get mobility things done, because traditionally it was just people moving to a compound, and that was it, and the company would sort the visa and immigration. But with a lot of the traffic coming into Saudi now, we see that there's a scope for mobility, and so we've partnered with a very experienced company here, and so it's looking good. It's looking good at the moment.
Well, I have to ask you along the same lines, why did such a smart, empathetic person, as you, speaking of which, as my son's having a conniption, why did such a smart, empathetic person such as yourself go into the moving business?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I mean, I used to be a banker before I came into this industry. It was all just an accident. But I think when I interview people, I've always loved people. Okay. So I'm always someone that gravitates towards having a conversation with another human being, if that makes sense. I'm not an introvert, and I'm not someone that likes to, be with myself. So I think this industry is perfect for me. It drives me nuts at times. It's the most stressful thing. Some days, like today, I asked my colleague, why are we in this business? Because it was that stressful a day. I had two moves and I have been nonstop. But at the end of it, there is so much gratification, so much satisfaction when you see them unpacked and settled in, and trying to explore a new country, explaining to them about Dubai, telling them how fantastic it is here. Yeah, so I think yeah, when I recruit and when I interview people, I always ask them, do you love people? Because if you don't love people, you're never going to survive in this business. You're dealing with people at the most stressful time of their lives, and if you don't like another human being, then this industry is not for you.
Yeah,
But I
you better love people, because otherwise it's just furniture, and nobody's getting out of bed to move furniture if you don't love people.
Yeah, and people are so emotional when they move, and the only people they really have are the movers to reach out to, because the friends and family want to leave them alone and get on with the packing and moving and all that. And every time they're upset, they're happy, anything. Well, mostly when they're upset, they take it out on us. And so, if you don't have the ability to deal with that stress, then I don't think you can provide the right experience.
Yeah, I agree. That's wise. Hosea has a question. Is Kingdom International approved by the U.S. Embassy for government shipments?
I'm not certain, Hosea. I will check that out for you. But I know that in Saudi, they work with embassies. I mean, we work with the Russian embassy. We work with the Saudi military. We work with the prince, and we do his palace moves and things like that. But I'm pretty sure they've done US embassy moves. Like I said, I've only been with them in Dubai since January, so I'm not exactly sure. I'm pretty much sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they might be.
Okay. Yeah, you might want to get back to Jose. He does a lot of U.S. government moves.
Sure,
Does a
Hosea. I'll
lot
get
there.
back to you.
Yeah, it's great guy there. Let's say Richard, being cheeky here, says, divorce made relocation sound even more attractive. Oh, Richard, you cheeky. Richard Majewski, lots of change. It seems Newcastle United has Saudi owners as of today.
Really? Oh,
Breaking news
okay.
here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Richard always gives us the football news here on Love and Reload, so we appreciate you,
He's in the
Richard, for
UK,
that.
isn't he? So
He is,
prop up
and
with his
he's
hand,
not watching Breaking Bad, and he's not eating dinner right now. So
and
we
he's
have to
watching
listen to
us.
whatever Richard wants to talk about. We're going to talk about today. Let's do this. We've got a couple minutes here, Simi. You want to have some fun with the top five today? Did you do a top five for us?
Yeah, can do.
Let's see. What's your top five?
Okay. So did you know that our weekends in the Middle East is Friday and Saturday, not Saturday and Sunday?
I did not know. Does that mean that you're currently
On
on
my
the weekend
weekend?
right now?
Yes.
This gets even worse. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. It's her weekend right
And
now,
it's
and
my
she's spending it
weekend.
talking to us. Well, thank you very much for that.
No, no. So
It's
yeah.
okay. So tell us why. Tell us why for those of us
So
over here in
Friday
the
is
U.S.
the holy day for in the Islamic world. It's like their Shabbat. So they Fridays is the day off. So we actually, those of us that go to church on the Friday.
Oh, really? So Christians also would
Yeah,
observe kind of Friday. Just
yeah,
okay. Very
yeah.
cool. Makes a lot of sense. Number four.
So number four, weather-wise, winter is the time of the year that we look forward to. That's when the barbecues come out. We go out and enjoy ourselves. It's not really sweater weather at all. I mean, we still wear t-shirts. I think we have beautiful 8 degrees Celsius winters, and rain is. We love the rain. I mean, you have no idea how the Middle East celebrates when we have a few drops of rain. it's it's
Wow.
it's amazing because yeah, I mean, we barely get any rain here, and
So
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 both
when
the
I come
rain.
to Dubai, I've never been to Dubai, but if I can make it to Dubai, the winter is the time to be there. Is what you're
Yes,
telling
absolutely. So December to March is beautiful.
me. Okay, sounds good. We'll have to break out the barbecue for that. All right, number three.
Number three, handshakes. So it is not appropriate to shake particularly a local female's hand, unless she extends it first. So, even in a corporate setup, even in the business world, if you meet an Emirati woman, you must not extend your hand unless she does it first. It is
This is something to
culturally.
remember. This is something to remember because I'm going to IAM next week,
Mm-hmm.
International Association of Movers, and I looked at the registration. And there's actually going to be some in-person folks from some different places. I think there's one from Qatar and some other places, and I probably need to keep that in mind because we're going to be shaking hands with people. But I mean, and is that true for all Islamic cultures?
Not all, but certainly in the Middle East. Like I said, it's they wouldn't like put you in jail or anything, but it's just not appropriate. Like if she extends her hand, then go ahead by all means. But we would, as a male, you wouldn't extend your hand first.
Okay, I will remember that. Note to self.
Okay.
Number two.
Summer activities, as you know, we have full on summer here, 50 degrees Celsius. It's like 48 to 50 for almost 5 to 6 months a year, almost. So we have a lot of mall culture. We hang around in malls, but beaches, even though, especially the Western expats, they enjoy the summer and the beach time because, it's not something that you get to do back home. So yeah, so that's pretty much our summer activities.
I gotta think the sand is even still that really hot though at that temperature. Like, how do you even get from
Yeah,
my towel to the water? Seems treacherous.
it's not that bad. We have beautiful beaches, which it's built in such a way that there's not that much sand to get through before you get to the water.
I'll have to check that out. All right, number one,
Yeah, no income tax. We do
no
have
income tax. So are you talking about like none? Like here
none.
in the United States, we have states that have no income tax, but we still have a federal income tax. Is there no country
No.
income tax?
No income tax. So I'll tell you, like, I lived all my life in the Middle East, and then I moved to New Zealand for a few years. And then the first time I got my salary was after the tax deduction, and I cried.
You thought you
it
did a
was
pretty nice job in negotiating. You
it
started
was
spinning it in your head.
it was so alien to me to receive a salary after tax deduction. Yeah, you kind of get used to getting your entire salary every month in your bank account. So yeah, you get
So
used
I
to
got
it.
to ask, how does that work with no taxes? I mean, where-
I mean,
taxes fund services. I mean, how do they do it?
we do have value added tax. So VAT is there, but it's 5. And, we don't pay direct taxes, but I think businesses pay taxes. I mean, like fees. And yeah, I mean, pretty much the Middle East has always been rich with oil. And so, they've had um, that kind of resources to be able to fund the services.
Wow, man,
Yeah.
sounds interesting. I gotta check it out. Dubai is definitely on
You
my
must
on my
come,
bucket
Ben. You
list for
must come.
travel.
I don't know
I
if you've
really
heard
do.
about the Expo 2020, but Dubai is hosting the Expo for the next 6 months, and I think the world must come and visit. We've also
I need to do a I think I need to do a Love and Relo Middle East tour. And
absolutely,
I mean, we could do this all week long. We could just go and highlight all the wonderful, global mobility businesses in the Middle
yes,
East. I think it'd be a lot of
yes,
fun.
absolutely. And we could drive to Saudi. It's only an 8-hour drive. You drive through the empty quarter, and it's the seat of the Islamic, their holy place. And although we couldn't go there to the holy place, but we could drive and check out all the developments in Saudi. You know, it's great. It's only eight
Sounds
hours
fun.
drive.
I like it. Bring some ice cream, some guys out there working the jobs and everything.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sounds
You could
great. This is
you
this is
couldn't take
wonderful.
beers for them, but you can take ice cream.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Simi, this has been really insightful.
Thank you.
really eye-opening. I love the conversation around customer experience. I love the conversation around kind of the future of moving household goods versus possibly renting. All of it was just wonderful. So thank you for staying up super late out in
Thank you,
Dubai
Ben.
and talking to us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much, Simy. We will take a long weekend and we will see all of you actually in about 2 weeks, because next week is the IAM conference in Orlando, which I will be broadcasting live, but from IAM 360. So those of you who have registered for the virtual or in person can see all of that content. I may do some behind the scenes stuff as well. And then we're going to be at we are going to be at ERC after that in Chicago. So I might do a little bit of behind the scenes stuff there too, but we're taking a kind of a formal break for those 2 weeks. And we will be back in October 25th. Long break, Simy. Long break.
Long break,
Let's
but
get
you're
how to
going
do
to have
this.
fun. I'm so jealous. I can't make it to the IM this year, but next year I'm there for sure.
I cannot wait to see you, Simy. It will be amazing. And hope to see
I
all
think
of you
you'll join
there
us
who came.
before that.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully. Hopefully. Awesome. Thanks, Marilee. Thanks everybody who got
Oh,
involved today. The show
shukran,
was
Merrily. Shukran, shukran. That's thank you in Arabic.
See, we got a
Brilliant.
good
Thank
group here.
you.
This is fantastic. All right, take care, everybody.